Now we're going to move on to the letter K, starting with the capital. The K is going to take up the header and the X space. We are going to start at the bottom of the header, and we are going to pull down, curve out to the left, then travel up to the top of the header before pulling all the way down to the bottom of the X, curve out, and end in a dot. Then we're going to pick up our pen, start at the top of the header, curve in slightly before pulling down, and then in the middle of the X, go to meet that first line, and then go out from the first line, pull down, and flick out. We're going to do that again. Start at the bottom of the header, curve to the left and up to the top of the header, pull all the way down to the bottom of the X, curve out, end in a dot. Then go back to the top of the header, curve inward, pull down to the middle of the X to meet the line that you first made. Go out from that first line, pull down, and flick outward. We're going to do that again. Start at the bottom of the header, curve up to the top of the header before pulling all the way down to the bottom of the X, curve out, end in a dot. Pick up your pen, go to the top of your header, curve inward before pulling down, meeting the first line in the middle of the X. Make a second line, go out from the first line, pull down, flick out to the right. Try and pay attention to your angle. I haven't been doing that. So I'm going to start in the bottom of my header again. Pull down, curve up to the top of the header, pull all the way down to the bottom of the X, curve to the left and end in a dot, go back up to the top of the header, curve to the left slightly before pulling down, and angling in to meet that first line you made in the middle of the X, before going back out again, pull down to the bottom of the X, flick out to the right. I'm going to do that one last time here. Start at the bottom of the header, curve up to the top of the header before pulling down to the bottom of the X, flick out to the left and end in a dot, move back up to the top of the header, curve in to the left before pulling down, meeting your first line in the middle of your X, pull back out and curve down to the bottom of the X, flick out to the right. Practice those capital K's all the way across that line, and then you can move on to a lowercase k. Lowercase k is going to take up the X space and the header. You're going to start at the bottom of the X, curve up to the middle of the X in an entrance stroke. Off that entrance stroke, you're going to move out to the right slightly, make a curve to the top of the header, and then pull back down to the bottom of the X space. Then move to the middle of the X space, the middle of that line you just drew. Actually, you're going to move to the top of the X space. You're going to pull down to meet that first line you made, and then pull out, curve down, and to the right again. So we're going to do that again. Start by making an entrance stroke that goes to the middle of the X space. Off that entrance stroke, make a loop that goes all the way to the top of the header. Pull all the way down to the bottom of the X space. Go back to the top of the X space. Pull down to meet that first line in the middle of the X. And then again, go out, curve down, and loop off to the right. I'm going to do it again. Make an entrance stroke upward to the middle of the X. Off of that entrance stroke, make a loop that goes to the top of the header, and then pull down to the bottom of the X. Move your pen to the right from the top of the X, pull down to meet that first line you drew in the middle of the X space, and then pull out and down, flick off to the right. I'm going to do that one more time here. Make an entrance stroke that goes up to the middle of the X. Off of that entrance stroke, make a loop that goes to the top of the header. Pull all the way down to the bottom of the X. Move your pen to the top of the X. Pull down and to the left to meet that first line you drew. And then you make another line that curves down and out to the right. Make those lowercase k's across that entire line, and then you have finished this video.